at Key Arena. A great non-conference matchup as our marathon of hoops continues on ESPN2. The Zags and the Vols here from Key Arena.
We talked about the depth both teams have. Bruce Pearl very quickly goes to that bench. If you look at that lineup, they really have about 8 starters.
Big win in Kentucky for the West Coast Conference as San Diego, led by former Gonzaga assistant Billy Greer. They pick up the win.
Well, you got St. Mary's and Gonzaga, and Billy Greer actually has a pretty veteran team coming back. See this flex offense now. They don't get as much out of the movement. What it does is it spreads you out for guys like Ramar Smith to drive it.
Ramar Smith was all-SEC freshman last year. And right there, knocks it down. You see why.
Well, the last 4 minutes of the Xavier game, he came off the bench and really sparked the Vols. Early in this game, he gets a chance to continue what he left off before Christmas.
Brian Childress, Brian Williams have also checked in for the Vols along with J.P. Prince. Here's Bolden spinning on Smith. And now Pargo will set it up. Bolden with the pump fake. And a rebound fought for by Kuso. And a foul on Tennessee. Good atmosphere in Seattle. The Vols lead by 5. Back here in Seattle, Gonzaga and Tennessee. College basketball presented by Cars.com. Well, you come to Seattle, and of course you watch a great matchup between Tennessee and Gonzaga. Vols by 5, and Bruce Pearl suiting up, getting ready to toss the fish. You got to do it down at Pike Place Market.
Are you ready? Asking, why am I doing this? Because in coaching, we always have to have a backup job. You know, we don't win enough games, we got to sell fish.
John Shambi alongside Fran Fraschilla. Well, Bruce Pearl didn't come out here for the fish, though. He came up for a real tough non-conference matchup.
Well, both Bruce Pearl and Mark Few, some of those coaches that will go anywhere and play anybody. And it's a credit to Tennessee coming to Seattle knowing that it would be a pro-Gonzaga crowd. But he's gotten his team ready for SEC play. He's already got a couple notches on that belt this year.
Tom Davis, former Iowa coach, one of his mentors. And, of course, there's Mark Few. What a great job he has done since taking over for Dan Munson. You'll see that pressure from Tennessee all day.
And they give it to you on every dead ball from everywhere on the floor. They make it very difficult to throw that basketball in bounds.
Got to be hard to simulate that in practice.
It really is. We saw 30 minutes of just walking through Gonzaga's inbounds plays yesterday by Tennessee.
Shot clock down to 11 as Bolden picks up his dribble. Stephen Gray, the freshman, with it, has it knocked away. Lofton scramble for the basketball, and he finds Prince. And he's fouled. Abdullah Kuso charged with the foul. That frenetic pace, Tennessee loves it.
I talked to Sean Miller, the coach at Xavier, this morning, and he said he's never played against as relentless a team as Tennessee. And there's an indication your All-American candidate dives to the floor for a loose ball.
Now here's J.P. Prince at the line coming off a career high against Xavier. 23 points, and Franny did it in just 20 minutes.
He has been a big spark for this team in his first 3 games. The young man from White House High School in Memphis.
Transfer from Arizona, so J.P. Prince and Tyler Smith, a couple of transfers, really helped out Bruce Pearl, and Pendergraft has to take a timeout. There's the pressure.
Unbelievable how many times they force a team to take a timeout. They're the toughest team in the country to inbound the basketball against, John, and it's not just along the baseline full court. They'll press on the side, they'll press underneath their own basket, and David Pendergraft has to use one.
Yep, Bruce Pearl, a guy with a lot of enthusiasm, but sometimes you got to watch those puppies. You don't want to get out of the box, and he got called for a tee.
Well, and this was sort of unfortunate because John Adams, the head of NCAA officiating, was at this ball game, and the officials know that they need to enforce that coaching box. But all Bruce Pearl really does is coach with great intensity.
And again, that's a point of emphasis this season, getting coaches to stay in the coaching box.
I think when that intensity is directed at the officials, they have every right to tee you.
Lamar Smith all over Jeremy Pardo.
It's a good battle, Chicago and Detroit.
Bolden, as Kuso has it stolen away, and Prince pushing ahead for the balls. Fadeaway, got it.
Looking like his cousin, Tayshaun Prince. Mentioned this is a big game for Gonzaga. It's bigger than it is for Tennessee.
Kuso from Bolden.
That has been a season-long problem. Kuso and Sacre not finishing around the basket.
Point blank, and he could knock it down. Childress up and under the miss, tipped in by Williams, and Tennessee by 10.
Brian Williams did not play high school basketball. Look how many hands they get on passes.
Josh Heitfeld making his first appearance. Heitfeld, we mentioned, 15 minutes against Oklahoma, 5 points, couple of rebounds, and you did that game, showed some rust.
Well, he did. And I talked to Mark Few last night. He says he's about 3 weeks away. But I have to tell you, I watched Josh work out in the summertime, and he's got lottery pick talent, just not all the way back yet.
And the ankle injury, only part of the story for Josh Heitfeld. Bolden's elbow jumper. And right there, Austin Day, the freshman, with the putback.
Gonzaga is going to have to lift their intensity in this game in order to stay with Tennessee. And ultimately, John, that will be good for this ball club.
Well, the crowd has been intense from the tip here at Key Arena.
See a lot of switching right now on the perimeter. Gonzaga's Achilles heel has been its man-to-man defense through the years, and this provides a big challenge.
Jawan Smith feeds Tyler Smith, and they get the carry and a turnover. Both teams do a good job taking care of the basketball. And Tennessee averages under 13 turnovers a game. And so far, they've done a good job here today. Their first turnover of the afternoon.
Now, the problem for Gonzaga is when Tennessee does turn them over, it usually leads to points in transition. Gonzaga, not as much of an up-tempo team, more of a power team.
Day giving off to Gray. Gray just came back from an injury. Had a broken wrist and missed their first 10 games. There's Heitfeld down low. He's fouled and he'll go to the line. Well, they'll look to establish Josh Heitfeld in the blocks as Chisholm gets called for the foul, his second.
Heitfeld came to Gonzaga relatively highly recruited. He's had some injuries. We mentioned the drug possession, which we'll get into. But he's also been a perimeter player at times. It's a good sign as he posts up down low.
Josh Heitfeld was arrested February 9th for drug possession, hallucinogenic mushrooms. He was suspended for the rest of the season, 9 games. And there was a lot of talk about whether he'd be let back onto the team. He wrote apologies to all of his teammates, met a lot with Mark Few. And here he is back, suffered that stress fracture, so he had surgery on the ankle, and that's why he missed the early part of the season.
He's had a lot of bad luck, but he's had a signature game when Gonzaga beat North Carolina last November in New York, and he wouldn't say he dominated Tyler Hansborough, but he was the better player that night.
Down the floor, and they got Larry Gerganius with the foul. The Zags here in Seattle trailing by 7 to Tennessee. Back here in Seattle as Tennessee leads it by 7. Look at the Space Needle. And well, our marathon of hoops continuing here, and a great one to start the day. San Diego and Kentucky, an upset for San Diego, and Oklahoma and West Virginia coming up. It'll be capped off tonight, Arizona and Memphis. So our marathon of hoops today on ESPN2.
Well, Wisconsin, Michael Flowers hitting that huge 3, but I mentioned earlier why this is a bigger game for Gonzaga, John. Both coaches coaches will go anywhere and play anybody. But when you really look at Gonzaga in the early part of the year, losses to Oklahoma and Texas Tech, we don't know yet how big the win against UConn was in Boston, the win against St. Joe's. But these 7 teams, to me, you know, in Europe they have the soccer league. You play in your own country and then you play the Champions League. These guys could form a Champions League, these 7, because they seem to all play each other home and home. And of course, Tennessee will go to Kansas next year, start a series with the Jayhawks. But Gonzaga needs what we call that signature win early in the year. They really haven't gotten it yet, and this would be a good one today.
Now, Bo Ryan's Badgers got a signature win today on the road, beating Texas. And right there, Stephen Gray pulls down the miss aggressively to the hoop. Wow. Puts back his own miss and goes crashing to the deck.
Remember, this is only his second game back. The freshman from Bainbridge Island, Washington, missed the early part of the year with a fractured right wrist.
Powell with a deep triple. Day the board, the crowd is buzzing here at Key Arena. Zags down 5.
Well, this, as I said earlier, is a toughness game for the Zags because Tennessee never takes a night off.
Heitfeld is fouled. They got J.P. Prince with the foul.
Stephen Gray, Class A Player of the Year in the state of Washington. A number of in a long line of in-state players who played for the Zags, and only his second game back. He's a prolific scorer, and when you have a fractured right wrist and you're a shooter, that can set you back. But he is, third game back. But he has shown that he can put points on the basketball scoreboard.
Averaging a little over 7 points a game. And Gray, as you mentioned, a big recruit. Bainbridge, I guess the best way, I'm told, to get to Seattle as far as from Bainbridge, you can take the ferry. There you go.
There's so much water around here. Puget Sound, little zone now.
Gonzaga on a 6-0 run.
It's a matchup zone, which means they're going to show man in a lot of areas, especially where Lofton will be.
Gerganius pulling down the board. Speaking of injuries, Larry Gerganius missed all of last year with a bad back. And there's Gray. The freshman hits the triple, and it's a one-point game.
That is his forte. Remember, Gonzaga without Heitfeld, without Gray, has not been at full strength all preseason versus a murderous schedule.
Gonzaga coming off a 9-day layoff following a 4-point loss in Oklahoma City to the Sooners. Good hands by Day, deflecting it out of bounds. It'll be Tennessee ball with 13 on the shot clock. Austin Day, the son of former NBA player Darren Day.
See, the problem for the Zags now is they've got to play with this intensity the entire game.
That one off Lofton, a turnover. Gonzaga basketball.
You look at Tennessee, they've only got the one loss to Texas. They've got a number of key wins already this year. That's why this game is more important for the Zags. Look how hard it is to get the ball inbound.
And again, Pargo on the bench. Last game he played 40 minutes, so I don't think you'll see him on the bench that much.
Well, and he played 40 because Bolden, who's now at the point, is coming off a sprained ankle in that Oklahoma game.
Gray, the freshman, with another. And the Zags lead by 2.
Right on cue, and just what Mark Few wanted for a Christmas present. This is the deepest Zag team that Mark Few has had, but they just not have hit stride yet because of the injuries.
Powell looking for space, gives off to Tyler Smith. Heitfeld smacks it out of bounds.
I'll tell you what I didn't like about that call. It looked like it was going to be short. Ball was definitely on the way down. But if it's not going to go in, and we get the angle here, well, I think it's a good call.
So the goaltending, and we're knotted up at 17 apiece.
Ball looked like it wasn't going to get all the way to the rim. In retrospect, Fisher was right on it.
Got the tie-up.
Josh Heitfeld, there's what's been missing. Talk about a guy that hasn't played a lot of basketball since last February. Now watch the inbounds now. Watch how hard it is for Gonzaga to get it in.
5-second call, turnover, and that's exactly what Bruce Pearl was looking for as he pumped his fist.
I have never seen a team since I've been not coaching and broadcasting spend as much time at defending inbounds plays as Tennessee does.
Lofton hits at 3, the senior who has struggled from deep this season, but finds the mark there. Well,
he had the reputation of being a guy that makes contested threes, but that really hasn't been the case this year.
Scramble, Tennessee comes away with it. Lofton. Nice move to the goal, Jawan Smith.
John, this is what I talked about. If you're Gonzaga, you can never let up in terms of your intensity because Tennessee comes at you in waves.
Tennessee back with a 7-0 run, and the Vols lead it by 5. And the pressure on Stephen Gray. Now big Austin Day.
Austin Day is going to have a tough time today because of the strength of the Tennessee Vols. He's going to be very good.
And a travel, a turnover as Heitfeld took too many steps. Look at Bruce Pearl. Fired up to be sure. Another marathon of hoops continues tonight. The nightcap, Arizona and number 2 Memphis, Chase Buttinger. And of course, Derrick Rose. Arizona's got an excellent freshman in Jared Bayless.
Yes, they do. And you remember that we talked about that Champions League again. Arizona playing Memphis. They've played Kansas. Memphis will play Gonzaga. They'll play Tennessee. So these coaches have no fear.
Lofton, an NBA 3 is no good. And Pargo back pushing. Day using the size to create space and hits the jumper.
When Austin Day gets stronger and is able to finish around the rim off those drives, he is going to be just an outstanding scorer because he can score in so many ways.
Yeah, Austin Day 6'10", but he's only 190. And a big rebound by Jawan Smith. Tennessee will set it back up.
You know what, John? Tennessee shoots so many threes, nearly 50%. That there's always a lot of long rebounds, which benefits the team that brings the intensity.
Tyler Smith's shot off the mark. Argo feeds Sacre and a foul on Brian Williams. Tennessee by 3 here in Seattle.
Well, the young man with great genes, father played in the NBA, played for the UCLA Bruins, showing you what he can do both inside and then outside with the pull-up.
Much, and back here in Seattle, Tennessee by 3. Marv Harshman, the former Washington and Washington State coach, sandwiched between a couple excellent coaches, Judd Heathcote, George Raveling.
Yep, George Raveling honored last night by the Battle in Seattle reception dinner for his longtime involvement in basketball. Look how hard it is to get the ball in bounds. Unbelievable. Most teams want to try to score after inbounds. You just want to get it in cleanly against Tennessee.
They got Jeremy Pargo with the offensive foul right there.
This has become an incredible state in not only Washington but Oregon as well. The most underrated high school basketball in the country, and especially if you go per capita, is being played in this part of the country. You look at what Gonzaga has done from the late 90s on, now UW, the Brandon Roys, the Nate Robinsons, Washington State, obviously, Tony Bennett, undefeated.
Lamar Smith trying to find Wayne Chisholm, and it's knocked out of bounds.
You know, when Gonzaga had that great run midway through the first half, you remember what I said? You have to keep it up against Tennessee because they just don't die.
How about the athleticism of Tyler Smith hanging and hitting?
Tyler Smith, with all due respect, as Bogan knocks it in, With all due respect, the Dane Bradshaw is a better version of Dane Bradshaw, who was the glue to this team Bruce Pearl's first couple of seasons.
Turnover, it'll go the other way. Yeah, Tyler Smith last year played at Iowa and was granted a special circumstance as he was eligible from transferring immediately.
Well, his father, Billy Smith, had lung cancer. He's since passed away, but the NCAA ruled him eligible, and he's been a great lift for this team. He's very versatile. He's not a shot hog, John.
Off Day's leg, Tennessee basketball.
That's the strength that I was talking about. When Austin Day gets a little bit stronger and is able to power that ball to the basket, he will be a complete offensive player. Right now, he's just one of those young colts.
Chisholm gives off to Lofton, and he feeds back to Chisholm. They got offensive interference and scored the goal.
Now, the interesting thing was the official from the middle slot made that call from the other side of the basket. See, he's opposite of where the ball is, and I'm not sure that Micah Downs touched that basketball. They could have rolled it basket interference if he hit the rim while the ball was on the rim, and that would have been what the call was.
Pargo steps through and finds Downs. Now Sacre.
See, Sacre takes so long to get a shot off inside. He didn't even need the dribble. He could have gone right to the rim and stepped through.
Sacre, the freshman from North Vancouver, British Columbia, as Brian Williams checks back in.
Take a look now. Watch how difficult it'll be to get this ball inbound. See how they switch everything. They got to throw it out, so their scoring play has been negated.
Pargo's three way off. Pendergraft there for the board. And a foul on Gonzaga as they got Sacre with the push.
Jeremy Pargo shoots this ball from the NBA three-point line, and a lot of college guys like to do that. It drives me nuts when there's two lines down on the floor because it almost becomes a macho thing for the college guys.
So you didn't like it as a coach when the NBA line was...
No, when I was coaching at St. John's, we played in Madison Square Garden. You don't get 4 points for an NBA three in college.
Fight on the floor. Gonzaga comes away with it. Pargo. Good look. Pendergraft has it swatted away.
Boy, do they get their hands on the basketball.
They got Pargo on that foul. That's his second.
Mark Hughes arguing that they got hands on the wrist, but when you play this hard and this style all year long, the officials will give you the benefit of the doubt when you poke balls loose like that, because they do it all the time.
Yeah, Tennessee averages a little over 12 steals a game, forcing over 22 turnovers a game. So refs certainly used to seeing it. Good look down low. Ramar Smith with 2.
Off of a great pass by Tyler Smith. That's the Dane Bradshaw effect that we were talking about from Tyler Smith.
Tyler Smith, Jawan Smith, Ramar Smith, all on the court for Tennessee, not related.
At a certain point, you're going to have to just go with Josh Heitfeld and stick with him. That's too tough a shot for Downs.
Micah Downs with good range, but that was a little deep. Tyler Smith amongst the trees and spins it home. Wow.
This is a guy that averaged 15 points a game in the Big Ten this year, and he really doesn't have to make his mark by scoring, but that was acrobatic.
And a foul on the floor as they get J.P. Prince with the foul. Tennessee leading by 9, of the top scoring teams in the country. And one of the reasons, the athleticism of the sophomore, Tyler Smith, up and under.
All right, fans, 3 minutes, 52 seconds remaining in the first half. Let's make some noise for your Gonzaga Bulldogs!
Tennessee leading Gonzaga by 9. 3:52 to go here in the first half. And take a look at Tennessee passing the ball.
Well, Tyler Smith, we talked about his unselfishness, the Dane Bradshaw effect. Look him drop the dime in the middle of the zone. And well done by a guy that I think had a reputation in high school of being a scorer, but very versatile player. Remember, he signed at Tennessee with Buzz Peterson. There was some acrimony when Bruce Pearl did not let him out of the scholarship because of the illness to his dad. He's home and very comfortable in orange.
Matt Bolden fouled. He'll go to the line as they get Brian Williams with the foul. And worth noting that Tyler Smith's father, Billy, and Bruce Pearl did make amends before Billy passed away.
Yep. Tyler also had a baby, Amari, who we named after Amari Stoudemire. So there were two really good reasons to come home to where his heart was when he signed with Buzz Peterson out of high school.
And Billy said to Coach Pearl, you know I'm not going to be here for his entire career. You have to look after him.
The amazing thing about Bruce Pearl, John, and there are some coaches that don't like him. They don't like the style, no shirt, the whole rah-rah thing. The players love him. And you're talking about a deep team with a lot of guys who could be the star in a lot of programs, and they have bought into Bruce Pearl and the system.
J.P. Prince left-handed, and he's fouled.
They come at you. They are relentless. They never stop playing hard. That time they attacked a little bit of pressure, kick it to the middle. Look at the ball movement. And this is what Prince does best. Attack the rim off the dribble. Remember, he was recruited to Arizona as a point guard.
They got David Pendergraft with the foul, his first. Gonzaga 16 fouls, Tennessee with 7. Pendergraft, the senior from Brewster, Washington, and Chris Lofton set to check back in. Prince actually thought about transferring to Vanderbilt.
That's right. And Dane Bradshaw with another assist because his former high school teammate called him up and said, hey, before you do, take a look at us here in Knoxville. Because remember, Nashville is 3 hours closer to his home in Memphis than Knoxville is.
Pendergraft gives off to Bolden. Gonzaga trailing by 9, and Heitfeld with the follow and the flush.
That's the athleticism Heitfeld will bring when he's back in shape.
Rebound fought for, and now Pargo.
And Chris Lofton has really struggled today, but he struggled all season. But this guy right here, take a look at how Heitfeld elevates. You're talking 260. It's a lot of weight. Let's keep your eye on the inbounds now. Can they get it in?
Pargo tosses to Heitfeld. Had the size mismatch, and they get the bump down low as Tyler Smith fouled Matt Bolden. Well, our marathon of hoops presented by Cars.com continues 8 Eastern. Sam Young and the number 6 Pitt Panthers take on the Dayton Flyers. That is a tough matchup on the road for Jamie Dixon.
Anytime you go to UD Arena, I guarantee you there'll be 13,000 tonight. Some of the best basketball fans in the country are Dayton Flyer fans.
Dewan Blair, one of the top freshmen in the entire nation for the Pitt Panthers. Bolden nails the first. Unbeaten teams down to 8 now. Miami, Kansas, Washington State, Mississippi, and Vanderbilt with the most wins of that lot.
What a great run Andy Kennedy's done at Ole Miss. Keep your eye on this freshman, Chris Warren, who was just the MVP in Puerto Rico. Marvelous job. And of course, we're talking Tennessee, Mississippi, the SEC. Watch out for Florida. I think they're the second best team in the SEC despite the youth. Vandy not far behind. See, all this motion right now is all fake stuff because eventually what they'll do is they'll run to a set play. This is good tempo and clock management right now.
Chisholm kicks out, now Howell. 7 on the shot clock. Lofton tries. Rebound, though, down low, and Tyler Smith has it rattle in, then out.
Big possession.
Fight for the ball, and Tennessee comes away with it, and a timeout called. Heads up play by Howell, trapped in the corner.
You know, in talking to Sean Miller at Xavier about that great game on Saturday last week, he said that Tennessee made 3 plays in the final 4 minutes that were, so look at the tip from behind now by Smith. Okay, he stays with it, but now watch the loose ball, and Howell uses the timeout to gain possession. But Sean Miller said they made 3 plays just like that you wouldn't see a team make all season long. They had 3 in the final 4 minutes of that Xavier game.
And as good as Bruce Pearl's team is, no McDonald's All-Americas on the team.
That's the beauty of it. You know, Brian Childress signed it in Milwaukee. Chris Lofton was overlooked by Kentucky. So was Juwan Smith, an in-state Tennessee guy. A couple guys transfer home. Brian Williams didn't even play high school basketball.
We mentioned Tom Davis, one of Bruce Pearl's mentors, and Tom Davis actually said he shouldn't take the job when he asked him because he felt it was a tough place for him to win. There's Howell.
See, this is another big possession right now for Gonzaga. Get it down to 3. Run your half-court offense. See if you can pound the ball inside and stay away from the racehorse basketball for the last couple minutes.
And they get Tyler Smith with the foul, and that's his second.
You know, what's interesting about Tennessee, for many years, it was looked upon as a coaching graveyard because football was so big. But as we've seen at Florida, at Ohio State, at places like that football and basketball can easily coexist. The hardest part for Bruce Pearl was coexisting with Pat Summitt, and he's done that incredibly because they have grown very close. And of course, Pat Summitt already over 900 wins, and she may end up with about 1,400 in her career.
Yeah, there's a story. Bruce Pearl wanted to learn a little bit of the matchup zone that Pat Summitt plays, and they work together on that.
Now, Stanford Cardinals just with a big win over Tennessee. Candace Wiggins and crew, so Tennessee Lady Vols go down this week. See the zone, and actually the tempo has been pretty good for Gonzaga.
Chisholm. Gurganius pulls it away. Gonzaga down by 3.
No. See, that's too much of a high-risk pass for the freshman Gray. You've got it to 3. You want to run some half court and pound it inside. This is a 50-50 ball right here. Now, Heitfeldt's a good athlete, but you're asking him to do something that's difficult for anybody 6'11", 255 to do.
They got Pendergraft on the foul, his second team foul, number 7. And the senior takes a seat. Tyler Smith rattles it home. Smith with 7 points. He averages a little over 13 a game and a high percentage shooter from the floor, just under 60%. Heitfeldt pulls down the board.
You got to know where Juwan Smith is at all times because he tried to come from behind and poke it loose. Heitfeldt not buying it that time.
The freshman Day handling. And now Gurganius.
Childress doing a great job of fronting Heitfeldt.
Gurganius off balance shot. Childress loses it out of bounds. 35.3 on the game clock, 35 on the shot, so Gonzaga
should definitely get the last shot, John. You don't want, unless you get a layup. And first of all, you have to worry about getting the ball in bounds right now. Once you get it in cleanly, you should not shoot this ball unless you get a dunk.
A foul there, and Heitfeldt will go to the line.
Last 2 possessions, Heitfeldt has been the key to inbounding this basketball. And you see Smith tried to steal it, and that's why Heitfeld gets a chance to shoot too.
Little extra tug on the arm right there, and Heitfeld turned to the referee and asked for intentional. And the big guy from Clarkston, Washington knocks it down, a redshirt junior. It's going to take a little while for him to get into game shape, isn't it?
Absolutely. We talked to Mark Few last night. As I mentioned, he said 3 weeks. He thinks he could round into form. Remember, after this game, they still have Utah and Georgia coming to Spokane.
And as well, later on in the season, they'll take on Memphis. Listen to this place. Key Arena. Tennessee by 2, holding for the last shot. West Coast Conference already got a big out-of-conference win earlier. The lead into our game is San Diego, led by former Gonzaga assistant Billy Greer, picked up the win in Lexington over Kentucky.
Pick and roll.
Lamar Smith uses the backboard and drills the 3. My goodness. And that'll do it. End of the first half. And did they get a foul?
Lamar Smith banks it in, and I think they had a foul. They can go to the monitor to see if the foul occurred before or after the horn went off. Excuse me, the clock went down. But there's the tough bank shot. And Lamar Smith, take a look at this now. He just gets a shot up near the rim, and it banks in. And they will go to the monitor to see if the foul occurred before or after the clock went down to 0. There's the pick and roll. Kuso jumps out, avoids the contact. Smith, the tough shot. Clock is running down.
Hard to tell right there.
Hard to tell. Oh.
Bruce Pearl looking on. His team leads by 5 right now. Mark Few hoping that the foul occurred before the first half clock expired. One more look.
I think it's 1 tick. And if it is, it's a 2-shot foul because Tennessee is in the double bonus. It's very close to being 0.1 to 0.
They're still looking at it. Chris Lofton was the one reaching in. Well, we'll sort this one out and let you know at the break. Tennessee by 5. Now time for our Dick's Sporting Goods halftime report. Scott Reese and Stephen Bardo. Welcome back here in Seattle. College basketball presented by Cars.com. And a great first half between Tennessee and Gonzaga. The Vols leading by 5. John Shelby alongside Fran Fraschilla here at Key Arena, and a little bit of controversy at the end of the first half, but it looked like the refs got it right.
They got it right because while the foul occurred between 0.1 and 0, the clock only stops once the official makes the signal. And the signal came clearly after the clock went to 000. So while you could split hairs on when the foul occurred, it's when the official signals it, John. And so good a piece of officiating and the use of the monitor.
J.P. Prince and the Vols using the pressure defense in the first half. 19 points off of turnovers. They average just under 26 in that department, but Gonzaga's hung in.
Gonzaga has hung in, but as we said in the first half, you can't play in spurts with this Tennessee team. You must stay intense for 40 minutes because you may go on an 8-0 run, but they can come right back on you with the same kind of run.
What do the Zags need to do in the second half in order to take this game?
I think the first thing they need to do is take care of the basketball, get it to half court, where then you can pound the ball inside And by taking care of the ball, you eliminate a lot of Tennessee's offense that comes from turnovers.
So a lot of pressure on Jeremy Pargo, who will do the bulk of the ball handling for the Zags. But it's Tennessee basketball to start the second half. Balls by 5. Jordan Howell gives off to Tyler Smith. And now Juwan Smith looking for some help. Lofton to Howell, and a 3.
Well, that was a breakdown defensively by Gonzaga. Tennessee will run continuity offense almost to lull you to sleep, and then they run their set play when they do get down at the end of the clock.
Pargo feeds Bolden. Bolden played on the under-19 Team USA this past summer. Sacre, the freshman, couldn't put it back. Now Bolden will try the triple. And Bolden pulls down the board. Pendergraft is hammered. Fans want the intentional, so does Mark Few.
Well, Juwan and Ramar Smith, their hands are everywhere, and that's very close. See, because he's not really playing the ball once he commits the foul. And this has been a very hard game to officiate. The referees have done a good job. There was an opportunity, I believe, you could have called an intentional foul because Smith did not play the basketball.
SEC officials here: Mike Nance, Bert Smith, Tony Green.
When you play these intersectional games, a lot of these officials do so many leagues it doesn't matter, but you feel comfortable as a coach going on the road with officials that you've seen before.
Some pressure from Gonzaga, but Tennessee breaks it. Corner 3 from Juwan Smith.
Juwan Smith only shoots about 35% from 3, but he does make big shots for this team.
Pendergraft tries to answer. Tennessee will shoot a lot of threes. They had a game earlier this year against North Carolina A&T where they hoisted up 50 three-point attempts.
And then if they have an Achilles heel, they don't have a guy that you can throw the ball inside to and get you a basket near the rim. They do it in an unorthodox way by driving the ball from the perimeter.
Chisholm will try it. Sacre the board. Robert Sacre, the freshman from North Vancouver, British Columbia. And it'll stay Gonzaga basketball.
What's interesting right now, John, is the two best post-up players on the floor for Gonzaga are Bolden and Pargo. And as I say that, here comes Heitfeld.
So the big guy will check back in. Josh Heitfeld in the first half played 9 minutes, 6 points.
Once again, the Zags can do everything they need to just get the ball in bounds.
Bolden can't hit a 3, and they get Heitfeld with the foul.
I really believe if you're Mark Few, you have to play this game against Tennessee from inside out and not from outside in. If you have a decided advantage on the floor right now, it's with Heitfeld inside, and I think you've got to start to play through him.
The Zags have some size. Sacre 7 feet, Day 6'10". You got Kuso at 6'9", and of course Heitfeld at 6'11".
Mark Few was disappointed in the loss to OU. That size was bullied by the likes of Longar and Blake Griffin.
Lofton, high off the glass. Chris Lofton has had a tough time from long range, but using the glass there.
That's a guy that knows how to be 6'2" right there, because he got that ball way up on the backboard with a soft touch. Chris Lofton, the 800-pound gorilla in the room, is that he's in a shooting slump. So watch him getting way up on the glass on the drive, and Heitfeld, weak side rotation, can't get near that ball.
Lofton was just 1 for 7 in the first half, all from 3. I asked him why the shooting struggles. He said 2 reasons. My mechanics have been a problem, kicking my leg out, and the other thing is I probably haven't used the best decision making as far as which shots I'm picking.
That's why I never liked the fact that people called him the best contested shooter in the country, because sooner or later It's very hard to hit shots overhand. There's a lob.
Heitfeld intercepts. That last foul, by the way, was on Heitfeld. He's got 3. And a foul out front as they get Lamar Smith. Second team foul on Tennessee, and Lamar Smith's first of the game.
There's so much depth on this Tennessee team right now. Now watch this. They press from the sideline. See, this is their diamond press. They get it in relatively easily, but they're one of the few teams in the country that will take their press and turn it sideways and press you even on an inbounds from the side.
Stephen Gray, the freshman, has checked in for Mark Few's team. He gave him a lift in the first half with 8 points, including a couple of threes. Pargo with the good feed. Heitfeld in the foul.
You can get the ball into the lane via the pass or via the dribble. And right here, Pargo gets into the paint and the dish off. And this is what I mean when I say play from inside out. Get the ball inside where you can horse it, especially against a team that has depth but is foul prone.
Jeremy Pargo went to that Steve Nash point guard camp this past summer and went up against some of the top point guards in the country. You got a chance to see that camp. Where does he stack up with the rest of them?
Well, there's a lot of good point guards in the country, John. You talk about Collison, you talk about Augustine. In my mind, Jeremy's probably in the top 10. But he's a different kind of point guard. He's a scoring point, and he's probably the strongest point guard in the country.
Good feed, Gray. Pendergraft takes it away from Tyler Smith and finds Gray. They'll set it back up. Pendergraft's triple. Got it!
Turnabout is fair play. Tennessee did not secure that rebound. Gonzaga made him pay.
Key Arena in Seattle is rocking. Vols lead it by 6.
But you must maintain that intensity if you're Gonzaga, because Tennessee will maintain it. Oh, they call this guy Mr. Zag, David Pendergraft, because he does whatever it takes for you to win, including knock down the long ball.
Welcome back to Seattle College basketball presented by Cars.com. Number 12, Tennessee, leading Gonzaga by 6. Now the Zags led by Mark Few, 9th season as head coach, one of the winningest coaches in college basketball. He's done an amazing job.
One of the reasons Gonzaga has maintained that lofty status is because stability in terms of the coaching situation. Mark Few has had numerous opportunities to lead, but he's got, I tell him all the time, one of the best jobs in the country because of the quality of life in Spokane, the way the community has embraced the team. Generally good kids, and also John has raised almost $3 million for Coaches versus Cancer, and guys like Jay Billis and Steve Lavin, Bill Raftery, Neil Everett this summer. We make our way to Spokane at the end of every August because it's such a great event, and he is a fixture along with his wife Marcy in the Spokane community.
Yeah, Mark Few, the 3rd fastest to 200 wins in NCAA history, as Heitfeld has it rattle in and out.
Those are shots he should not miss, and likely not to miss once he gets his legs under him.
Heitfeld diving for the loose ball, hands to Pendergraft.
And that's how you have to play Tennessee. You must fight fire with fire in terms of intensity.
Pendergraft will try another. Lofton tosses ahead, and Prince. And here come the Zags, and they get a foul. Lamar Smith charged with that one. Well, our marathon of college hoops concludes tonight with the finale. Arizona and Memphis. Chase Budinger going up against Derrick Rose, number 18 and number 2. A full day of college hoops presented by Cars.com on ESPN2. We mentioned the freshman Jared Bayless. Well, he'll be joined by Oak Hill's Brandon Jennings next year, one of the top recruits in the country.
Should be a terrific backcourt. Absolutely. You know, John Calipari's no idiot. All these big games he's playing, they're all at home this year.
Bolden, look at the work down low from Matt Bolden.
Well, you mentioned the USA Under-19 team. Coached by Jerry Wainwright, the silver medalist. Matt Bolden had to play power forward some for Jerry Wainwright. You got an example right there. Why?
There's Childress putting back the miss. Yeah, Bolden played on that team that had the likes of Michael Beasley and Patrick Beverly, as well Tawan Porter from Oregon on that team.
Lost to Serbia in the gold medal game. And Michael Beasley, 40 points last week. We've seen him a few times. How good is he?
Yeah, we've seen him a lot. Soft touch, great post moves, and just a nose for the ball when it comes off the glass or the rim. Steal there. Tennessee goes the other way. Ramar Smith, the lob, and the dunk by Prince.
The great thing about that play is Ramar Smith anticipated what we call the baseline drive, baseline drift pass. He drifted to the baseline and intercepted that pass.
Timeout on the court. Tennessee on the road in Seattle, leading by 9. Scott, thanks very much. Here in Seattle, Tennessee leading by 9. College basketball presented by Cars.com. And Fran, Tennessee does such good work on the defensive end.
Well, we call this the baseline drive, baseline drift pass. We've circled Ramar Smith. Keep your eye on him. This is a dangerous offensive play. There's the drive by Pargo, and Smith smells it out, recognizes it, and then it's off to the races for Prince.
Gonzaga down 9 here in Seattle. The battle in Seattle from Key Arena. Matt Bolden has it swatted away, and they got Childress. Ryan Childress with the foul, his second. Team foul number 4 on Tennessee.
What I like is out of the timeout, they went to one of their better post-up players, Bolden. Bolden got some space to get to the rim.
Let me correct that. They got Lofton on the foul, his first.
There's that inbound play again. How hard is it to get in? It's like a jump ball. There's the post-up.
Gray kicks out. Day is short. Lofton will push the other way. Good feed, and Chisholm with the easy flush.
This is the danger zone right now for Gonzaga because Tennessee has taken control. Gonzaga has not scored easily in the half court. Quick shots have led to open court for Tennessee.
Soft touch by the big guy, the freshman Austin Day from Irvine, California.
He's about 20 pounds away from being a prolific scorer at the college level.
Good look. Childress up and under Chisholm.
Childress, a guy that signed at UW Milwaukee when Bruce Pearl was coaching there. And when he left it for Tennessee, Childress followed him.
We get Austin Day with the offensive foul. Timeout on the court. Bruce Pearl's team leading it by 11. Scott, if you're looking for two of the winningest coaches in college basketball, here's an idea. Take the ferry to downtown Seattle. Check out Mark Few and Bruce Pearl, Gonzaga and Tennessee.
Well, you're right, and it's interesting. Neither of these guys played college basketball. The interesting thing about both of them is they're like 20-year overnight sensations. And one of the things that I really believe makes Bruce Pearl such an effective coach is he coached at Southern Indiana when he left Iowa in Division II, and he won a number of national championships. But you're able at that level to make mistakes that are not on TV as a coach. You can leave a guy in and he picks up his 4th foul in the first half. No one will ever know. That was his laboratory before going on to Division I. And he's right now one of the best coaches in the country. This is a system of organized chaos.
Lots of passion, lots of energy. We watched Bruce Pearl go through their shoot-around slash walkthrough yesterday. He said it was the longest of the year. There's Lofton. Hits that three right there. Chris Lofton, 8 points. He's averaging just under 15. Been a cold afternoon for him.
Well, it's interesting. Tennessee is 11-1, and we haven't seen the real Chris Lofton yet this season very often.
14-point lead, largest of the game for Tennessee.
He mentions that he kicks that right foot out when he shoots it. I went back and watched film from last year, and he's always shot that way, and he made him last year.
Bolden in the foul. Matt Bolden's having an afternoon. He has 13.
Well, this is where Gonzaga's points have to come from, I believe. You must attack this defense. In the half court, Tennessee is not as good inside the arc as they are in terms of turning you over with full court pressure. And Gonzaga can get into the lane and attack the rim.
Bolden not able to convert. And a little pull-up jumper there from the baseline. Juwan Smith.
Another one of those guys that we mentioned was not heavily recruited. Out of Cleveland, Tennessee.
Pendergraft picks up the cargo miss and puts it home. Pendergraft's got 11. Jeremy Pargo, by the way, has not scored today. He is their leading scorer at 12.8 a game. And a three right there, that hurts it. Juwan Smith knocks it down, in Tennessee by 15.
Now, remember when Gonzaga in the middle of the first half had that 8-0 run, I said, you can't let up against Tennessee because they never quit coming after you.
Pargo out of control, wanted the foul, and here come the Vols. Lofton eyes a three and drills it, and just like that, Tennessee leading this one by 18. That is how quick the run can come. 7 straight field goals made for Bruce Pearl's group. 64-46 here in Seattle. And the Vols enjoying themselves in the Northwest.
It's interesting right here. Watch Chris Lofton. This time he leaves his feet and he lands in his footprint. That right foot does not kick out like it has through this shooting slump. He knocks it down. He gets a clean look.
Well, here we are, the third leg of the Marathon of Hoops on ESPN2. Jeff Capel and the Oklahoma Sooners going up against Bob Huggins and number 23, West Virginia. Then it's Pitt and Dayton, and it concludes with Arizona and Memphis. Back to Oklahoma. They're in the middle of a tough stretch. Arkansas, Gonzaga, West Virginia. 3 straight non-conference games.
Well, they've got the first 2 because the win over Arkansas started it. You saw them, and then the win over Gonzaga. Now they go to Charleston, West Virginia, which allegedly a neutral site, but there'll be a lot of Mountaineer fans, obviously.
Well, Charleston will be a neutral site the way Seattle is a neutral site here. Mark Few angry right now. A couple of different times he felt like Tennessee was being overly physical with his Bulldog players.
Well, that's what Gonzaga needs. They need to get a little bit tougher. We talked about Austin Day just being a freshman. Mark Few looked up at the clock.
Yeah, they should be shooting here. That's the issue. There's 17 fouls on Tennessee, so Day should be going to the line.
And the reason that's important is because Austin Day has knocked down 54 of 60 foul shots this year, 90%.
And maybe it's the karma of the jersey. Where's number 5 that was worn prior to him by Derek Rivio, I believe is second all-time in NCAA history and free throw percentage.
Almost 93%. He topped it off with the senior year where he shot 96. See, this is a good game for Gonzaga. We talked about how they needed this game more, John. They're going to be a very good team. They're not losing more than 2 games in the West Coast Conference. I don't care how good St. Mary's is in San Diego. They may lose 1 or 2 on the road. But they need this kind of toughness game against a team like Tennessee.
Lofton short on that 3. And Tyler Smith couldn't save it as he stepped on the baseline. Good hustle there. The sophomore from Pulaski, Tennessee, and the transfer from Iowa.
One of the reasons I had Tennessee in the Final Four before the season is because when I watched film of them last summer, remember, they had Ohio State beat twice. They beat Tennessee at Knoxville. Every film I watched of this team, they never take a play off. And now they've lost Bradshaw, but they picked up Prince and Smith, Tyler Smith, and they're a better team than they were a year ago.
Lost in the Sweet 16 of the NCAA tournament to Ohio State last year. The Zags, meanwhile, went down to the first round to Indiana. Bolden with a big three. And it's a 13-point game.
But they haven't gotten any stops in a while.
And the foul. Pendergraft picks up that one. Fans wanted an offensive foul there.
Well, fans have disagreed with the officiating all night, but I think Pendergraft slid in, didn't get his feet established, at least in legal guarding position, when Howell took off.
Pendergraft's got 4 fouls. Jordan Howell will go to the line. And Josh Heitfeld will check back in. Howell's brother and dad both played at Auburn. He wears number 15. Last week, Tom Brennan was broadcasting a game. He was joking. He said he's got to wear number 3 because then the starters would be numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Like an international basketball.
That's right. Barry Gerganius is checked back in for Mark Few's group. Day gives off to Gerganius. Fight for the ball and a tie-up.
See, and Austin Day, I don't know if he thought that was a handoff, but he's trying to pass to Gerganius coming off a curl cut, and there's way too much traffic there.
Mark Few will bring Micah Downs back into the game. Gerganius will sit. Tennessee by 16 here in Seattle as they find Heitfeld. And he gives to Pargo, who still has not scored, coming off a career-high 28 in the loss to Oklahoma. Bolden gathers in his own miss.
See, Gonzaga does not go up strong and attack the rim. Everything's double pumps.
Look at the lob swatted away by Day. Bolden couldn't save a Tennessee basketball.
This is ultimately going to be a good lesson for Gonzaga because this is a deep, talented team. They've had injuries, but they're playing against a team that is starting to hit its stride and is so relentless that it needs to run. This will be a great film for Mark Few to show his team.
Lamar Smith to Tyler Smith, and then Chisholm got whacked and had it knocked out of bounds. Tennessee in the second half, 12 for 18 from the floor. So they have been red hot offensively. And a turnover, it'll go the other way. Under 8 timeout here in Seattle. All Tennessee. Set back to the studio in Ryan Burr.
All right, thanks a lot. Winthrop in Miami. Miami, one of the last undefeated teams in the nation, and Winthrop giving them all they can handle. Chris Gaynor for 3. Book it 54-49 at that point. It is now a 9-point game. Back to Seattle after this.
Welcome back to Seattle. Pike Place Market. Well, you want to sell basketball in Tennessee, you want to sell fish in Seattle, you turn to one man. That man would be Bruce Pearl.
Hey, who wants some fresh fish now? We got fresh salmon, we got fresh crab. We'll ship it, ready to go. We'll ship it today, we'll ship it tomorrow. We'll even ship it to Tennessee. And we don't get this stuff in Tennessee. Take it home. Fresh fish.
The Massachusetts guy coaching in Tennessee, selling fish in Seattle.
I think you could. We're both New Yorkers, so you'd understand this. This guy's got shtick. You know, he's got a shtick going, and it works. And it works because it's genuine. I mean, the guy, he must wake up energetic.
Vols leading by 16 on the road. They get J.P. Prince with the foul. That's number 3, team foul number 8. Downs will go to the line to shoot 2. Excellent free throw shooter at 84%.
See the difference in the game, and of course Tennessee comes in getting about 26 points a game off turnovers. And the Zags, if there's been an Achilles heel through the years for Mark Few's club, it has been at times on the defensive end.
Yeah, it really hasn't been the turnovers in the second half. It's been the hot shooting of Tennessee, shooting close to 70% from the floor since the break. Day almost comes up with a steal.
But you know what? Tennessee would have dove on that basketball. That's the intensity that we're talking about.
Chisholm able to save it. 14 of the shot clock. It'll stay Vols basketball. Josh Heitfeld's second game back from the ankle surgery. How do you think he's looked today?
He's not near where he's going to be. The tip dunk we saw, we haven't seen any threes from him. It's going to take him, as Mark Few said, about 2-3 weeks to wind back into form.
The other thing, too, is they went, 10 games, 11 games without him, so they need to get in sync and get used to having him on the court.
Absolutely. We also saw Stephen Gray give them some spark in the first half, and he's coming off about 10 games worth of rust.
Day can hit that. Big fella steps outside, knocks down the triple.
But they're going to need some stops.
Lofton launching that one from behind the three-point line, and Gonzaga trying to cut into a 15-point deficit.
See, they can't have any more empty possessions.
Jawad Smith, the bounce pass to Ramar Smith. And they get the foul. I believe on Ramar Smith.
Good job of the freshman throwing. We talked about getting his body in there. He's clearly established. You know, it's interesting. You see the line on the floor, the NBA circle, which is used quite obviously. It's used in the NBA to determine whether a player has gotten to legal guarding position. I almost wonder if that didn't help the officials make that call, but it was an easy one because Day was established.
They used that a couple of years ago as an experimental rule in the early season tournament play. I guess, 2-3 years ago?
Yes. Yeah.
You get the foul there on Jawad Smith, his second. Would you like to see that implemented in the college game, the semicircle down low?
I think it helps because as a coach, I never liked when a player took a charge underneath the basket, because it's really not part of the play unless a guy is running through the lane from side to side. But when you have the ball, you're driving to the rim, and you're trying to leave your feet to score a layup, and the defensive player is taking the charge underneath the rim, to me, that's a no-call play, or you should penalize the defense.
Jeremy Pargo on the board for the first time today is Big Bro Gennaro, former star at Arkansas, plays with the New Orleans Hornets. And his little brother, the junior, having a tough afternoon. But there's a turnover. Gonzaga basketball down 13.
Pargo coming off a 28-point performance against Oklahoma right before Christmas. And he took over that game for the Zags down the stretch. Let's see if he can do it here.
Bruce Pearl calls timeout. 6:14 to go in this one. What's he telling his team?
Well, he's first of all telling them what I said earlier, no more empty possessions, quick shots or turnovers. Let's get the ball to the rim. Let's get it inside out. If we're going to shoot a three, let's shoot one that comes off an inside out. And then, John, they've got to get some more stops on the defensive end, because they will not come back in this game without stopping Tennessee, something they haven't done the first 14 minutes of this half.
Mark Few's team down here in Seattle. Our marathon of hoops concludes tonight. Game number 6. 6 straight games here on ESPN2. Number 18 Arizona, number 2 Memphis. That's at 10 Eastern.
The interesting thing, if Arizona does not beat Memphis, Gonzaga plays Memphis in January. This gentleman will go to the FedEx Forum in late February on College game night. And could it be that Memphis is still undefeated?
There's the lob to Heitfeld. And Gonzaga within 11 on a 7-0 run.
It's got to now happen on the defensive end if the Zags are to climb back in.
Over 15,000 at Key Arena in Seattle, and that'll quiet him a bit as Jawan Smith hits another triple. He's got 18 points.
That's lottery athleticism right there. Watch out when Josh Heitfeld gets healthy.
He's got a dozen. The deficit is a dozen for the Zags. Now Tyler Smith on the baseline.
See, a call had to be made there. That's too much contact.
That was a big-time collision on the baseline, and Heitfeld went down hard. And they get Austin Day on the foul on the floor. Josh Heitfeld asserting himself.
Well, the alley-oop, this Tennessee just fell asleep off the inbounds, but this is a hard play for a guy 6'11", 255 to make. The dime on the money, great catch.
Smith finds Smith. Rebound fought for, man, Tennessee, the hustle.
That is a toughness rebound, and that's the difference today between Gonzaga and Tennessee. And don't think Mark Few won't go to school on that clip on the highlight reel.
Tyler Smith able to pull away that loose ball with 3 Gonzaga players around.
That's what makes, we talked about it all game. Tennessee is relentless. They never take a possession off.
Ball's coming off a win against Xavier, 82-75 in Cincinnati. What did Sean Miller tell you?
It's the most relentless team that he's coached against in his career. By the way, Xavier's got a heck of a team, too. They are deep, versatile, a good guard play. And he's got a big one against Kansas State coming up on New Year's Eve in Cincinnati.
Heitfeld swats that one. Gray pulls it down. And the Zags come the other way. Heitfeld working on Chisholm. Deep 3. Off Lofton, it'll stay Zags basketball. Josh Heitfeld, more of a presence here in the second half.
And he is going to need to be. See Heitfeld and Gray getting lots of minutes down the stretch.
Argo, there's that physicality you talked about. Posting up down low, he gets fouled and he'll go to the line.
Well, he's not only the strongest point guard in the country, in my opinion, he's the best post-up point guard in the country.
Yeah, Pargo took J.P. Prince down low. Pargo giving up about 5 inches, but he's got about 15 to 20 pounds on him. That's that physicality you talk about.
Absolutely.
Not a great free throw shooter, but rattles that home. He's at 54% on the season. Make it 55% on the season, but he's 3 for 3 today. Zags on an 11-2 run the last 3 minutes.
Time and time again this season, Tennessee usually answers the bell. Remember, they lost to Texas in Newark without J.P. Prince, who's become an important weapon.
Prince, who became eligible in the middle of this month. This is only his 4th game. Lofton, Pendergraft fighting for the board. Tyler Smith can't save it. Gonzaga basketball. Under 4 timeout, electric atmosphere in Seattle. It's Tennessee by 10. much. West Virginia's only lost this year to Tennessee. You mentioned playing in Newark, New Jersey. Well, the Vols beat West Virginia, lost to Texas. Right here, though, Gonzaga on a roll, down by 10. What do they have to do the rest of the way?
Well, they need to get stops, and they also are usually very good out of a timeout, getting the ball to someone they want to score. But Tennessee, they're not going to press right now. Tennessee does a great job of scouting your most favorite plays. We saw that at the walkthrough yesterday.
Pendergraft trying to feed Bolden down low, but Chisholm stepped in.
There was contact, but Gonzaga's got to play through it because this has been a physical game. They're looking at the officials, and they're just not going to get that call today.
Chisholm finds a cutting Tyler Smith. And Smith with 9.
John, every time Gonzaga lands a body blow to Tennessee, Tennessee comes back with a flurry of their own.
Pargo and the foul. Jeremy Pargo into the lane.
Here's an example of the strength we talked about. Jeremy Pargo handles the bump, the second bump, makes the shot, and he's tough enough to play in this ball game.
Foul on Tyler Smith. Pargo can't convert the three-point play.
See, where Gonzaga has to get mentally tough right now is to get 2 stops and 2 scores.
A 10-point game as Tennessee slowing it down a bit.
This fake, we call it fake motion.
Smith's pull up an air ball. Here in Seattle, number 12, Tennessee, going up against Gonzaga. John Shambi alongside Fran.
Difficult thing about Gonzaga playing in a comeback game, John, is that they don't really press, and they're obviously not going to be able to press Tennessee. Their stops need to come in the half court.
Pargo will shoot 2. That last foul was on Jawan Smith, number 3. And the Zags get it under 10. Jeremy Pargo hits both, and it's an 8-point game. A little bit of pressure here from the Bulldogs. Al picks up the dribble.
That's interesting because Western Kentucky really bothered Tennessee with pressure as well. You wouldn't think a team that works on it every day defensively would be bothered by it.
Jawad Smith on the baseline. Heitfeld got a piece, but Chisholm cleans it up.
Everything about Tennessee relies on effort. And there's an example right there. Chisholm picking up the loose ball. Rebound.
The so active Tennessee. Bolden with the scoop to the hoop, and 18 for the sophomore from Colorado.
But you must get a stop right now. Tennessee is 1 score away from taking control and winning this game.
The Vols have been in command here in the second half. Under 90 seconds to play in this one. Tennessee by 8. Pargo pulls down the Smith miss. Spinning into the lane. Kicks out. Bolden's 3. Got it! A 5-point game in Seattle. Timeout on the court. Timeout here in Seattle. The Zags and Mark Few have pulled within 5. We check in the studio and Ryan Bird.
All right, we told you about Winthrop in Miami. Could the Hurricanes come back? This is Taj McCullough for Winthrop. The Eagles looking to pull off the upset. Gets it to go. It's a 6-point game with a $1:08 to go.
Now Ryan, University of Miami, one of 8 unbeatens left in college basketball. Here in Seattle, Mark Few just got a big 3 from his sophomore Matt Bolden.
We talked about getting 2 stops and 2 scores. They got the 2 stops. Hargo draws traffic, the kick out, and Bolden just sits on that line, knocks down the open 3.
Well, the big thing here, though, going into the game, Howard Gonzaga to 0.
They get a turnover about every 3 possessions on a season, and they've got 26 points a game on the season off those turnovers, and that's really been the difference today for Tennessee. They don't have any inside scoring, but they get a lot of points in the paint because they're using opportunities like this right here.
Just so athletic, and again, Tennessee's done a good job taking care of the ball.
Yes, they have. Now, if you're Gonzaga, you have to press even though you're not a pressing team. Tennessee likes to spread the floor. They'll try to use some clock, and then they'll go to a set play or an isolation play if they think they have a mismatch somewhere.
Tyler Smith handling as Pendergraft is on him. Pendergraft has 4 fouls. Closing in a minute to go in this one, a 5-point Tennessee lead. Bolden out on Lofton. Prince on the baseline. They say jump ball.
See, I see a charge there. Take a look now. Now, that's a charge. Okay, it's been a physical game all day. Gonzaga has not adjusted to the physical game the way Tennessee has, but that play is a charge.
So on the tie-up, Tennessee basketball, 13 to shoot.
If you're Gonzaga right now, you do not foul.
Prince over Heitfeld, and J.P. Prince will go to the line.
J.P. Prince, the transfer from Arizona, they run a little inbounds play where he catches the ball at the foul line, and he's left-handed. So if you guard him at the foul line, you must force him back to his right hand, and Gonzaga did not.
Prince, a 60% free throw shooter. And again, at the conclusion of our game, we'll bring you Oklahoma and West Virginia. Good matchup there. Our marathon of hoops continues on ESPN2. And Tennessee pulls down the rebound and the loose ball.
Another hustle rebound, and that's been another story of this game besides the turnovers.
Yeah, Mark Few wanted the foul right there, and they did not respond immediately.
John, think about in the second half how many times there was a 50-50 rebound where neither team had the advantage that Tennessee came up with the basketball.
Prince back at the line.
A young man whose father, John Prince, was a longtime college assistant at places like Ole Miss, Memphis, UAB.
A big lift. It's just his 4th game since becoming eligible after transferring from Arizona. So an 8-point game now. Fargo spins into the lane, has it blocked. Tie up, and it'll be Gonzaga basketball.
See, usually you'd run a set play here to get a quick shot, but Tennessee does such a good job of scouting. They just got to worry about getting the ball in bounds right now.
Ray will try a 3. Heitfeld trying to track it down, and it'll be Gonzaga ball. Good hustle by the big fella.
The whirlpool will be in use today for both of these teams. And how about both coaches? Mark Few could not find a team to play in the battle in Seattle.
Offensive foul.
And Bruce Pearl said, "We'll come."
Now, At the end of this one, Mark Few will look at tape. Bruce Pearl will look at tape. I got to figure from Mark Few's standpoint, there will be an aspect where he'll show his players and say, this is how hard we need to play every game.
I think so. Tennessee, to me, is a top 8 team, maybe a Final Four type team. Gonzaga right now, top 16. There's a little difference. There's a gap there. And that gap can be closed over the next 2.5 months by Gonzaga if they'll play with the same intensity that Tennessee does.
Lofton turning it over. Bulldogs basketball down by 8 here in Seattle. Got to get a shot off here. Fargo with the bigger Chisholm on him. Clock winding down, and they get a push on the sideline. Tyler Smith called for that one. Pendergraft will go to the line. That's a break for the Zags.
And this will allow Gonzaga to score with the clock not running, and also now sub to set up their press. I used to like the sub here on the second free throw. See, they'll sub right here. Because on the second free throw, you can use that a little bit of time as we sub in to set up your pressure.
They are underway in West Virginia, and the Sooners up 4-0 early on Bob Huggins' team. And we'll bring you that game at the conclusion of our tilt here in Seattle. Pressure, and Gonzaga forces the turnover.
Okay, offense for defense. Bolden back in. Again, you've got to shoot quickly now, and you probably have to shoot the 3. Take your chances. It's low percentage, but you're in a low percentage situation.
Down by 7. Fargo looking for some help. Tosses out Pendergraft. Day's got good range. Shot was blocked. And Prince pulls down the miss, and that likely will do it.
This videotape for Gonzaga will be a great opportunity for Mark Few to go to school. He's got Utah and Georgia coming up at home. 2 tough games, but winnable games. And then they go to the West Coast Conference. Remember, John, with Heitfeld and Gray out, Bolden injured as well a couple weeks ago. They're not at full strength, and they're not playing the best basketball of their season. But this was much more of a must-win game for them today because they don't have the quality resume win that they normally get by January 1st.
David Pendergraft fouling out with 12 points. And Prince can't connect. Tennessee, we mentioned, they're in the middle of a 39-day stretch where they play just 1 home game. Their next game, though, will be at home. It'll be an SEC conference game against Ole Miss. That's on January 9th, so a layoff of a nice stretch for Bruce Pearl's team. Clock winding down in Seattle as the lob toss tipped away, and Tyler Smith down at the other end puts the exclamation point on this one. 82-72 our final score in Seattle. Bruce Pearl's group goes on the road and picks up the win. Our final 82-72. Now we join Len Elmore and Scott Graham in Charleston.